Hi, this is the video for ELF coordinators for Unit 3. One is called Air and Sound. In your resource box, you'll have a script and the puppets for your puppet show. These are all your puppets here. There are about 6 or 7 of them here. Along with that, you have the script, so you'll have one of these for each puppet. You also have background information for anyone who wants to read the background on how the human ear works and how it picks up noises. This would be a nice thing to have just out of interest, and maybe if you want to answer any questions in class. So when you're starting out, you can look through the introduction on here. You'll also have a slideshow available to show to them, which has all of the questions and answers that you have on your sheet here. And then we'll get into each of the centers. So for Center 1, it's called Aired Out. The volunteer will have a Tupperware container like this in their center box, along with a candle, glass jar, food coloring, and some things. So the first thing that this center will do is to talk about the lungs. And then you'll go into the experiment, which will involve this container. You're going to put a little bit of water, about 1 inch of water in here. There'll be a little candle for you to put in there, and you can light the candle. We'll also have some dye in the box, some food coloring, so you can put that just so that the students can see the water, and then a glass jar. And with the glass jar, you're going to put the jar on top of a burning candle, and then the students will see what happens. So they're going to observe the light goes out on the candle, and then the water rises into the glass jar. So it'll be an observation, and it'll be just something that they can see how the composition of the air changes inside the jar. After they do that, they can also talk about how many breaths they take, how many breaths of air they take in a minute, and then they can use it as a math problem to calculate if you can take 5 breaths per minute, and then multiply that by 60 minutes, and then by 24 hours, and then figure out over the course of their lifetime or over the course of 10 years, however much you want to do, how many breaths they will actually take. So this is for Center 1. Center 2 is called the parachute plunge. This one will start with a quick experiment where you'll have a plain piece of paper and a crumpled piece of paper, and you're going to drop them at the same time and see which one falls more quickly to the ground. And then the volunteer will explain why the crumpled paper falls more quickly to the ground. After they do that, they'll have a plastic bag and yarn and a figure in their center box, and they'll use that to make a parachute and watch the parachute float to the ground. With the plastic bags, we know that this is not so easy to come by these days. If the volunteer has plastic bags, that would be great if they could just bring those in for the demonstration. We will probably have a few of them in the storage closet to use, but it would be great if we didn't have to buy a bunch of plastic bags for this experiment. So the last part of this will be to have a stick and a newspaper. Also not easy to come by all the time these days, just to show how the surface area of the newspaper will hold a lot of air, and the air weighs it down enough that having a stick underneath it does not necessarily fling the paper up into the air. So that would just be, if there's extra time at the end, something they can talk about. All right, Center 3 is called Sound and Air Outside. This one is an outdoor center. There's 2 parts to it. The first one is going to be basically a scavenger hunt where you'll have a clipboard and a laminated piece of paper that shows different types of sounds that you can look for, such as if you see like an airplane flying overhead, or if you see a car driving past, or something flying through the air. So different kinds of sounds. You'll learn about different decibels. So that will be maybe a new word that the students will be learning about, what the different types of sounds and how much decibels they might have, and how different animals hear different levels of decibels. After they've done the scavenger hunt, then they'll do an air and sound game. So this will involve having one student stand in the center with a blindfold, and then having their friends stand around them in a circle, and then one by one, the volunteer can point to various people around the circle and have them clap. And then the student has to turn around with their blindfold and figure out what direction the noise came from. This one you could do out just in the open, like in a field, or you can do it next to the building, and then you also get the echo that comes off the side of the building. That will also be part of the center, just to see how echoes against buildings or just being out in the middle of a field can impact how you hear things. Center 4 is called Sound Match and Big Ear. With this center, first thing you're going to do is show them diagrams of the ear and talk about the different parts and how they pick up noise and how they process sounds. This one is upside. This one was upside down. There are, after you've looked at these, there will also be some diagrams of different animal ears. Maybe you can talk about how they're different or how they're similar. After that, there's going to be a funnel with a tube that they can hold up to their ear, and they can see how that affects their hearing and how they can hear different noises if it's pointed in different directions. And then the last thing is this bag here is going to contain a bunch of these little canisters, and they're all going to be filled with different kinds of material. So this is going to be a game. The student is going to have they're going to have this one canister, and they're going to shake it and listen to what's inside, and then they're going to try to match it with the sound from a different container. And if they're not the same, then the next student gets to go and pick 2 other containers and shake them and see if they can tell which ones are the same and which ones are different. So this will be one that's good for their listening and to see if they can distinguish sounds. Center 5 is called the Power of Sound. This one, the students will actually get to observe a model of the inner ear. And it comes with the diagrams. You can show them and talk about where this maybe fits in with the ear, and maybe talk about some of the terminology that's on here. And so there's going to actually be 2 diagrams. Here's another one as well. So you can just look through the words on here, such as round window, and this talks about facial nerves. So you can talk about some of these words with them and show them this and the bones also, the small bones that go into that are in the ear that pick up sound. And then after that, we'll have these tuning forks. The tuning fork will also go next to a container of water. So what the volunteer will do was they'll ring the tuning fork, maybe like bang it against their knee or find another surface to hit it against, and then they're going to put it on top of the water and watch the ripples move with it on top of the water. After the volunteer has done this with the grown-up tuning fork, the students will have their own tuning forks that they can use in their own small cup of water. So they'll find a surface to knock the tuning fork on, and then they'll put it on top of the water in their cup so they can see how the water moves. After you've looked at that, there's a coffee canister here, and we're going to have saran wrap, and you're going to put that on. The volunteer will put that onto the top of the coffee canister. There will be some sprinkles in here, and then they'll sprinkle a little bit of this on top of the plastic, and then the students can stand around and they're going to clap their hand, and they're going to watch the sprinkles jump and move off the top of the saran wrap or off the plastic wrap. This is really for the volunteer to do, so that we're not getting sprinkles all over the place in the classroom. So once you're finished with that one, if you could just try to clean up your center so that we don't have sprinkles everywhere. So All of this will be provided in the center 5 box. For closing, the most straightforward activity that you could do maybe is to have the